Engines roared down a lonely road, slicing through the stillness of the night. Two motorcycles raced side by side, one trying to flee, the other hot on its tail. Headlights flashed across the fields, shadows danced on the asphalt, and you could feel the tension hanging thick in the air. In just a few minutes, everything would go horribly wrong. A young life would be lost, and a family secret would explode into the open. That night wasn't just an accident. It marked the beginning of a tragedy that would rock Italy and spark a tough national conversation. Maria Paola Gaglione was born in July 2002 in Cavano, a small Italian town known for its tough traditions and high crime rates. Franco Gaglione and Pina Amico had a daughter, the youngest in their family. Her brother, Michele Antonio Gaglione, was 12 years older and super protective, treating her more like a daughter than a sister. The Gaglione home was all about those classic family values. The family had some pretty strong beliefs. Men were expected to lead, while women were taught to follow. Daughters learned to respect their parents' rules, and sons felt the weight of defending the family's honor, even if it meant controlling their sister's choices. Growing up, Maria Paola seemed like she was on that same path. Things started to shift when she hit her teenage years. At 15, she met Ciro Migliori, Guy 4 years older. It all began as just a friendship. It started off slowly, but blossomed into something beautiful: love. Ciro was different from the other boys in the neighborhood. Born female, he began transitioning at 15 to finally live as the man he always knew he was. For Maria Paola, nothing could stand in her way. She loved Ciro deeply and was all in, ready to stand by him on this tough journey filled with bravery and grit. While Maria Paola and Ciro found solace in each other, the world around them was far from friendly. For her family, being with someone like Ciro was not just odd, it was a total disgrace. They totally disapproved, and that rejection hit her hard. With all that pressure, Maria Paola and Ciro chose to keep their love under wraps for almost 3 years, living their relationship in secret. Their bond just kept getting stronger, fueled by love, a craving for freedom, and a shared dream of living openly. When Maria Paola hit 18, she finally found the guts to face her family. She pushed aside their expectations, ditching the idea of sticking to her studies or following the traditional path they had planned for her. She made a huge choice to leave home and run away with Ciro. Reports say the young couple found a spot at one of Ciro's relatives' places, just 6 miles from Cavano. It wasn't a long way, but it gave them a little taste of freedom. With no money, no home, and no steady jobs, they clung to the belief that love was enough. For 23 days, they lived together, while her parents heard nothing from her. Weeks rolled by until that fateful night between September 11th and 12th, 2020, when disaster hit. Around 1:30 a.m., emergency services rushed to a call about a road accident. At the scene, 2 motorcycles told a chilling tale. One bike, big and powerful, stood tall on its side stand. The other, a little scooter, lay flipped over in the tall grass, mostly hidden. Just a few feet away, Maria Paola lay lifeless on the ground. At just 18, she was thrown from her scooter in a crash. The brutal hit against an irrigation pipe cut her throat, and sadly, it was fatal. Ciro was on his scooter that night when he crashed. Hurt but determined, he stumbled to a nearby apartment, ringing the intercom like crazy, pleading for help. He told the folks inside he'd had an accident and his arm was messed up. They jumped in to help and called for emergency services right away. Before long, he was on his way to a local medical center. At first, it seemed like just a simple accident. On a quiet Saturday morning, news broke about a young woman who lost control of her scooter, possibly pushed off the road by a hit-and-run driver. At first glance, it seemed like a heartbreaking accident, but as investigators dug deeper, they uncovered a much darker story lurking beneath the surface. It wasn't just bad luck or a random accident. It was the final moment of a wild chase. The person chasing Maria Paola and her boyfriend that night wasn't just some random stranger, it was her own brother, Michele. What unfolded was way darker than anyone ever expected. That September night, as Maria Paola and Ciro headed back to their relative's place, Michele was already lurking, waiting for them. He knew their route and was set on intercepting them. Revving his powerful motorcycle, he tailed them closely before suddenly swerving right in front of them. He kept cutting across their path, trying to force them to stop. He even kicked at their scooter as they sped down the dark road. Maria Paula, sitting behind Ciro, begged him to calm down, pleading with him to see that every reckless move was putting their lives in serious danger. Her words couldn't reach him. He was too furious. Fueled by anger and a need to defend his family's honor, Michelle kept going. The chase dragged on for nearly 16 long minutes. With a sharp turn, Michelle kicked hard from the left, and just like that, Ciro lost control of the scooter. The bike skidded off the road and crashed into the bushes. Ciro hit the ground hard and fractured his arm, but somehow got back on his feet. Maria Paula wasn't as lucky. She was thrown from the scooter and hit her head and throat on a concrete pipe. That crash changed everything. At just 18, her life was cut short, and chaos erupted. Ciro was trying to get back on his feet when Michelle charged at him, throwing wild punches and kicks in a fit of rage. Meanwhile, Maria Paula lay still just a few feet away. It wasn't until Michelle noticed his sister wasn't moving that he finally stopped his assault. In shock, Ciro called his parents and 911. Scared for his life, he dashed to a nearby apartment, rang the intercom, and begged for help. Kind strangers opened the door and called for help. He was rushed to a clinic with a broken arm, but thankfully, his life was saved. Not long after, the truth came out. Michelle, 30-year-old family man, was arrested. His first words to the police were chilling. He admitted he did something dumb, saying he never meant to kill his sister, just wanted to punish her. He wanted to teach her a lesson for loving a transgender man. He claimed Maria Paula was always normal, and blamed Ciro for leading her astray and corrupting her. He claimed he wasn't directly responsible for the crash, saying he was further back when it happened. But things started to fall apart when forensic experts dug into the evidence. They found bruises on Ciro that matched Michelle's motorcycle boots perfectly. Ciro's story got a big boost when undeniable proof showed he was attacked after the crash. Witnesses stepped up, too. Neighbors and others said the threats and violence weren't new. Michelle had tried to break up the young couple before, with the first recorded incident happening on July 13th that same year. That day, Michelle showed up at Ciro's place and flat out threatened him, saying if he didn't back off from Maria Paula, he'd end him. Ciro was scared stiff and never reported it, but that memory stuck with him. These details pushed the investigators to dig even deeper. Some reports hinted that the Gallione family had ties to local crime networks, which made the case even murkier. Michelle initially faced pretrial detention for personal injury and causing death during another crime, but as more evidence came to light, his situation just kept getting worse. The charges have now bumped up to manslaughter and aggravated violence, fueled by homophobia. The judge confirmed not just the homicide charge, but also the assault against Ciro, which Michelle admitted during questioning. Ciro, still in a wheelchair with a broken arm, spoke to the press from his hospital bed shortly after the incident. His words were both heartbreaking and strong. Even with the painful loss of Maria Paula, he felt they had won in a way because they lived their love freely, even if just for a little while. He opened up about their relationship, sharing how, no matter what he said, Maria Paula's family just couldn't accept them. To them, it was like they were just two women, and that kind of love was totally off limits. He even heard some relatives say they'd rather see their daughter dead than with someone like him. Can you believe that? Ciro knew Michelle was the biggest hurdle in their relationship, the one who just wouldn't get it. Meanwhile, Maria Paula's parents stayed quiet, avoiding the media and instead leaning on their local priest and lawyers for support. They always believed it was just an accident. To them, their son was only trying to bring his sister home, not hurt her. In an open letter, they shared their choice to stay quiet, saying it was their way of honoring her memory with love and dignity. The Galliones insisted their issue wasn't with Maria Paula's sexual orientation. They were worried about her being with someone they didn't trust. They pointed to Ciro, claiming he was a bad influence, a young guy who was always in trouble, without a steady job, just getting by on luck. Even as they defended their son, They knew only time would reveal if their worries were right. Meanwhile, Ciro's mom was vocal, overflowing with anger and heartbreak. Rosa had no doubt about it. Michel knew exactly what he was doing, struggling to accept that his sister loved a transgender man. She accused the Gallian family of setting a cruel trap for the young couple. In her version, they pretended to want peace just to drag the two back into danger. Overwhelmed by grief, she didn't hold back. She slammed Maria Paula's mom as the real instigator, saying she threatened both kids and constantly disrespected Ciro and Maria Paula, even using female terms to deny Ciro's identity. On September 15, 2020, just days after the crash, the town of Cavano came together to say goodbye to Maria Paula. The church service was a heartfelt tribute, filled with applause, white balloons soaring into the sky, and doves released in her honor. The Gallian family invited the whole LGBTQ community to join in the farewell. Even with that public gesture, they wouldn't let Ciro, her partner and the love of her life, say goodbye. That same day, still in the hospital, Ciro took to social media, pouring out his grief and love. He shared that it was also the day they would have celebrated their 3rd anniversary together. His words were filled with the pain of loss, but also the pride of a love that, even if just for a moment, beat the odds. The story of Maria Paula and Ciro struck a chord far beyond their families, echoing through Italy and beyond, as people began to see their tragedy as a modern-day Romeo and Juliet. So many people who never even met them are grieving together, moved by a love that fought hard to survive, but was tragically cut short. On social media, Maria Paula's face became a symbol for so many who felt alone. Young folks, moms, friends, and neighbors shared photos, drawings, and heartfelt letters. Candles flickered, flowers were laid at the crash site, and rainbow flags waved proudly. Together, they sent a powerful message: love should never cost a life. But beneath that, grief mixed with anger. A lot of people just wouldn't buy the family story, brushing off the idea that it was just an accident or a simple fight. To them, it was obvious this was fueled by hate, intolerance, and a violent refusal to accept differences. The case quickly shifted from a tragedy to a hot topic nationwide. The Italian parliament felt the heat to finally push forward the Zan law, a bill aimed at tackling hate crimes and ensuring rights for transgender and gay folks. The public was crying out for justice while the legal wheels kept turning. On the same day, they laid Maria Paula to rest. Her brother Michel faced a grueling 2-hour grilling by the investigating judge, trying once again to explain himself. He kept saying he never wanted to hurt his sister, that all he wanted was for her to have a better life. But honestly, his words felt empty with all the evidence showing a different story. The judge highlighted 3 main points. First, Michel admitted he went out that night just to follow his sister. Second, he confessed to trying to stop the scooter by kicking it from the side. Witnesses and security footage confirmed this, showing the 2 motorcycles racing way too close together. After the crash, Michel didn't hold back. He went after Ciro with punches and kicks, showing just how out of control he was. The judge saw this as more than just a freak accident. The scooter spill wasn't just a mistake. It was all about Michel's reckless actions and violent outburst. The judge pointed out that his behavior showed not just aggression, but also a serious risk to society, making people worry he might do it again. Because of this, Michel's situation changed. He stayed in detention, and the charges got ramped up. Accused of manslaughter, he faced charges fueled by pointless motives and homophobia. What started as a supposed accident on a quiet September night turned into a chilling tale of prejudice and rage, leaving a young woman dead and a young man shattered. The community is now crying out for justice. Just days after the crash, on September 17th, Michel finally spoke up from behind bars. From his prison cell, he wrote a letter that quickly made waves in Italian media. In it, he shared how he felt like a piece of his heart was ripped away with the loss of his younger sister, who he always seen as a daughter, especially since their dad wasn't around while she was growing up. Michel insisted he never meant for any of this to happen. He said he could never forgive himself for that night's tragedy. But then, he switched things up. painting Ciro as a guy tangled up with shady characters and dangerous crowds. It's like he couldn't decide how to see him, right? In February 2021, everything changed for Ciro. He got arrested during a huge anti-drug operation in Italy, along with 23 others. Authorities claimed he was a small-time dealer in a drug trafficking ring. Quite a turn of events, right? Ciro faced serious charges: drug distribution, weapons crimes, theft, arson, and even helping someone escape house arrest. Despite identifying as male, he ended up in a women's prison. Charges go back to incidents from 2018, before he officially started his gender transition, which stirred up more debate in a country already split on these topics. His defense argued that these mistakes happened before his transformation and before his relationship with Maria Paola changed his life. Meanwhile, the legal fight against Michelle continued. In April 2022, the court put him under house arrest with an electronic bracelet because he behaved well in prison, had no prior convictions, and seemed like a low risk to reoffend. At just 32, it looked like he was getting a break, but that didn't last long. The trial kicked off on May 5th. Prosecutors pushed for a 22-year sentence, saying Michelle intentionally killed Maria Paola and tried to murder Ciro. The defense argued Michelle didn't mean to hurt anyone, just wanted to stop his sister. They even thought about adding homophobia as a factor to make things worse. As the trial went on, that charge got dropped. With Ciro now locked up for drug-related issues, it seemed to back up the Galleone family's claim that their worries about his lifestyle were more about that than his gender identity. In the end, the judges considered Michelle's clean record and good behavior in custody as factors that helped his case. They changed the charges, dropping voluntary homicide. Michelle ended up guilty of manslaughter and aggravated assault, getting a sentence of 9.5 years. When the verdict dropped, reactions were all over the place. For Ciro and his supporters, it felt like a slap in the face, downplaying the real crime. Outside the courthouse, his lawyer told reporters that the real tragedy wasn't just Maria Paola's death, but the loss of a love that had bravely faced poverty, family rejection, and social stigma. Love, in his eyes, was the biggest casualty. Michelle's defense team quickly appealed, but in June 2024, that appeal got shot down. His sentence was set in stone, leaving no doubt about what lay ahead for him. The trial didn't really close the case. Instead, it opened old wounds and sparked heated debates all over Italy. For many, Maria Paola and Ciro's story laid bare the ongoing tensions in society, showing how prejudice, intolerance, and violence can drown out real conversations. A young woman lost her life, and with her went a love story that battled against everything but couldn't escape the harshness of hate. It's a heartbreaking truth behind all the legal drama and headlines. Subscribe for more gripping investigations.